Hello, and welcome to this installment of I Teach You Your Math from a video. I hope your leap day is going really well, or your after leap day. As you can see, I have our calendar pulled up here. We are looking at that February 29th, March 1st day, where we are solving quadratics by graphing. That's the title. However, really, we're just going to look at one skill in particular. And so let's go ahead and open all the way down to 8.6 with your notes and practice out with a pencil in hand and a calculator at your side. Here we go. This lesson is talking all about this thing that we call a discriminant here. What a discriminant does is it's a really helpful way to quickly tell us how many solutions our quadratic should have. Now, what is the discriminant? It is this. B squared minus 4AC. This is our formula that we're going to plug into. Before I tell you how many solutions that discriminant gives us and how we can use that to tell, let's go ahead and look at example 1 to practice plugging values into that formula. So in example 1, we see this 2x squared minus 4x plus 5. Now, if you remember back to our conversation on standard form quadratics, all we have to do to get our a, b, and c is we look at the coefficients of each of those terms. This tells me that my a value is 2, my b value is -4, and my c value is 5. Now that we've picked out our a, b, and c, what we're going to do is we're going to plug those values up into that discriminant formula. So I'll copy it down here just so we can see it again, but that's b squared minus 4ac. So when we go to plug in, we ask ourselves, what is our b value? Oh, my b value is -4. So I'm going to swap those out. This becomes -4 squared minus, and then I see 4 times a, right? Times a, but we know a is actually the number 2. So instead we're going to think 4 times 2. And then same thing with c. Our c value is 5, so we write 4 times a times c becomes 4 times 2 times 5. Once you do that, you can either mental math your way through this, or you can type this into your calculator. So parentheses, -4 squared minus 4 times 2 times 5. Click enter, and you will see our result is -24. Perfect. You have just used this discriminant formula to find this value of -24. What do we do with that, and how does that help us? Well, these other 3 boxes up top here, this is going to tell us how we use that. If our solution to the discriminant is a negative value, then that tells us there's going to be 0 solutions. If the value is a positive, we will have 2 solutions. And if the discriminant ends up being exactly 0, we will have 1 solution. So, in example 1, because we ended up with a value of -24, Since negative 24 is indeed a negative number, that tells us we're going to have 0 solutions. The rest of these questions where we see this table and identify the zeros, you only have to do that if there is going to be a solution. So because there aren't any solutions in example 1, we are done with that example. So let's look at example 2 now. In example 2, I look at those coefficients to find my A, B, and C. Here I would say A is 1, B is 2, C is 1. Then let me just rewrite our discriminant formula so we can see it. Our B value is 2, so this turns into 2 squared, minus 4. Our A value is 1. Our C value is also 1. Once again, you can mental math your way through this. The mental math is quite nice, but just so that you trust me with my math, I will go ahead and type this out into the calculator, click enter, and here we see we get that solution of 0. So then, scrolling out, when we have a solution of 0, right, when we have 0, our solution, we're going to have 1 solution. If you can get this far, you're doing extremely well. Because we have a solution, let's also look to figure out what that solution is. To do that, we're going to use the skills that we've been learning with our calculator. Go ahead and click that Y equals button to pull up your calculator, Y equals all those lines, and copy this equation into your graph. We want to copy this exactly as we see it. So I see x squared plus 2x plus 1. You don't need the equals 0 part. You just put that chunk in there. Once you do that, you're going to go to your table. Remember, by pressing second and then graph. Okay, you see that pulls up our table. Instead of looking for a vertex like we normally have, we don't know what the vertex is. So to find the solution, we look where y equals 0. In this table, if I scroll down, do you see here, our y column, we have that 0 solution right there. What this tells me is negative 1, 0 is that solution. So my answer, looking down here, identify the zeros, if any. When y is 0, we see x equals negative 1. And here, this is actually going to be the end of this example. Since we only have one solution, we're only going to have one x value at the end. Okay, let's look at this last example now. So pulling down our A, B, and C values, we would pull down A. Well, A is 1, B is 1, C is negative 2. Then we plug those values in. So B is 1 squared minus 4 times 1 times negative 2. I will type this in times 1 times negative 2. Click enter. We see this discriminant is going to equal the value of 9. Well, because that discriminant is a positive value, that tells us we are going to have 2 solutions. So we will have 2 solutions. And now, once we figured out how many we should have, let's go back to our y equals and type this equation in. X squared plus 1x minus 2. Second graph to pull up the table. Because there are 2 solutions, I should be looking for 2 places where that 0 shows up for the y. And indeed, I do see that. I see 1 0 right here at negative 2 0. I see another 0 for my y at 1 0. Notice I only use the xy coordinates where y is 0. Notice I skipped over this one where x is 0 because we don't need it. This tells me that my 2 x values are negative 2 and 1. Because there's 2 solutions, you should fill in both of those underlines. But with that is actually the entire lesson for the day. So at this time, you can go ahead and work through your practice. Have a great day. Let me figure out now, how do I